Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for our summer safety camp in a box. And today we are going to be talking all about hurtful words. So I hope that you're enjoying the summer camp so far, and I hope that you are ready to learn some more today. So we are going to start off by reading a story, and then we're going to do a little activity. And then at the end, I am going to show you your craft that you can do at the end of this video. So I really hope you stick around. I think you guys are going to really like the craft. I'm really excited about it, and I think you will be too. So if you want to see that, make sure you watch the whole video all the way through. And let's start off with our book. So like I said, we are going to talk all about hurtful words today and how we talk to people and kind of how we communicate with them too, kind of like how we talked about with healthy assertiveness, but a little bit different this time. So we are going to read this book called Just Kidding. All right, so let's open it up and go ahead and get started. All right. There are times I hate being a kid. Here I am, waiting to see which team will choose me for some pickup basketball. And the decision rests on a stupid game of rock, paper, scissors. We'll play 2 out of 3, says Vince to Cody. Loser gets DJ. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors. That's what I felt like, a loser. Like I've got a big L stamped on my forehead. Rock, paper, scissors. Back at my old school, my friends would joke around with me, but they never made me feel like I was the joke. Rock, paper, scissors. Ha, you lose, Cody, said Vince. DJ's on your team. I looked at the guys. Nobody said anything about Vince's dumb way of choosing whose team I'm on. Suddenly, I don't feel like playing, and I start heading home. Hey, DJ, where you going? Calls Vince as I walk off the basketball court. Home, I shout. What's the matter, DJ? Can't you take a joke? I was just kidding. Some joke, I snapped back and break into a run. So we saw that Vince was making fun of DJ a little bit when they were trying to figure out what team he was going to be on. And DJ said something, that none of the other kids stuck up for him or said anything. Do you think that would have been a good time for them to say, hey, I don't think this is a very nice way of choosing what team DJ's on? Do you think they could have stuck up for him and said something? Absolutely, that would have been a really great opportunity. And then I bet DJ wouldn't have felt as bad. I raced across the baseball field, past a bunch of houses that line my street, into my treehouse in our backyard. Jerks, I yell from the treehouse. They're all jerks. Then I sit there, thinking back on all the times Vince had made fun of me in front of the other kids. When I first came to Roosevelt Elementary a month ago, Vince seemed friendly enough. But when I tried out for the soccer team he was on, things started to get a little weird between him and me. Hey, Vince, I told him. Coach Dip said I'd be a great goalie for the team. Did you hear that, guys? Vince calls out. DJ's gonna be our girlie. And the kids laughed as Vince pranced around the soccer field with a goofy look on his face. I laughed along with them because Vince was so funny, but it really bugged me that he made a joke instead of congratulating me. What do you think? Should he have just said, hey, DJ, that's great. I'm really happy for you. Was that pretty mean that he just made a joke? Why do you think he did that? Why do you think that maybe instead of congratulating him, he made a joke about it instead? Do we think that maybe Vince was a little jealous? That maybe DJ got to be the goalie? Maybe that was a position he really wanted and he didn't get that. So instead of being nice, he made that joke because he was a little upset. That could be. Let's keep reading. Yesterday morning, when I got on the school bus, I headed to my usual seat, way in the back next to Vince, Brian, and the other guys. Right when I sat down, Vince asked, "Are you wearing a pajama top to school?" Before I could answer, he started poking me with his finger, chanting, "DJ wears pajamas, DJ wears pajamas." "That's not funny, Vince," I said. "Poke, quit it. Poke, knock it off, Vince. Poke, cut it out." Everyone on the bus got really quiet, and the bus driver glared at Vince and me through his rearview mirror. Vince looked all innocent-like and said loud enough for the driver to hear, "Geez, I was just kidding." Then today, Vince comes up with his lame way of placing me on the team. I've had it. "DJ, are you in the treehouse?" asks Dad from below. I'm too angry to answer, so I don't. "DJ, are you okay?" "I don't want to talk about it." "Well, why don't we just play some catch instead?" I joined Dad in the yard, and he hands me my baseball glove. We toss the ball in silence. The rhythm of the ball going back and forth calms me down a bit. After a while, Dad asks, "Are you ready to talk about it now?" "Yeah." So I tell him how Vince teases me in ways I don't think are funny. I try to ignore him so he'll stop, but he doesn't, I say. Then I end up losing it, looking like I'm the jerk because I can't take a joke. "I just don't get it, Dad. Why does he pick on me like this?" "DJ, you may never know exactly why kids like Vince are mean to you, but I do think it has more to do with what's going on with him than with you." So what do we think when his dad says that? That it has more to do with what Vince is going through or what's going on in his life than it has to do with DJ. Can you take any guesses and think about why his dad said that? So remember before on the other page when we talked about maybe why Vince teased him about being goalie? Because maybe he was jealous. So do we think that maybe Vince teases DJ sometimes because he's jealous of him? Or maybe he just has a lot going on in his life and that's what he's doing to make himself feel better? Or maybe to get some more attention? That could be. Maybe that's why he's doing it. But that still does not make it okay for him to do that to DJ. We toss the ball a little more. Then Dad suggests we play a game to figure out how to help me handle myself when kids like Vince pick on me. He calls over my big brother Nick to help. This game worked for Nick, and I think it'll work for you too, says Dad. Nick? No way. Yep, nods Nick. The same kind of thing happened to me at school last year. There's only one rule in this game, says Dad. You can't do or say anything mean back to the teaser. Nick goes first to show me how the game is played and calls Dad 4 eyes. You're right, says Dad. Wearing glasses is like having an extra set of eyes. Thanks for noticing. Good one, Dad, laughs Nick. When it's my turn, I can't think of anything great to say, so I just act goofy, and it cracks them all up. The next morning, I get on the school bus and sit down next to Brian. Vince moves to a seat right behind us. I know he's up to no good. Sure enough, he starts making his move, this time on Brian. Hey, bedhead, Vince says. Did you bother looking in the mirror this morning? Brian squirms in his seat as some of the kids on the bus watch in silence. What do we think? Do we think DJ is going to be silent like his other friends were, or do we think that he's going to stand up for Brian? Let's see what happens. Cool do, I say to Brian. Then I mess up my hair even worse than Brian's and make a fish face to go with my crazy new hairdo. The kids around us burst out laughing, and Vince doesn't say another word the whole ride to school. Thanks, DJ, whispers Brian. No problem, I whisper back. I'd like to say that Vince stopped bugging me after that, but he didn't. I even caught him red-handed in class, sticking a wad of gum on my chair. When I told him to take it off, he just laughed and walked away. So my dad and I met with my teacher, Mrs. Winters, and asked for her advice. Mrs. Winters said she was glad to hear about the problem, or glad we told her about the problem. Vince has somehow learned that it's okay to say and do hurtful things to people. She said, I'll have the school counselor work with Vince and to teach him the skills he needs to be a better friend. In the meantime, she adds, hang out with kids who make you feel good about yourself. It's also important to let me know if Vince continues to pick on you. But I don't want to be a tattletale. Tattling is when you're trying to get someone in trouble, Mrs. Winters said. Reporting is what you're trying to help someone. Reporting is when you're trying to help someone in trouble. In this case, DJ, you're reporting because you're in trouble and you need help. So I followed Mrs. Winters' advice, and Vince eventually stopped bugging me so much. Don't get me wrong, it's fun to kid around with your friends and with your family, but I learned the hard way that when a joke has a sharp edge to it, it can cut you into pieces. Now I hang out with Brian, Joe, and Miguel. We horse around and have fun without making fun of each other. And that's just the way we like it. Okay, so that is the end of Just Kidding. And I hope you guys learned a little bit about the difference between making a joke and being really hurtful to someone. Okay, so I want to ask you a few questions before we start our activity. All right. So when DJ says that ignoring Vince isn't working out, why didn't that work out? If he just stopped talking to him or stopped acknowledging him when Vince was making fun of him, why do you think that didn't work? Think about the other people involved too. Think about his friends. Were they doing or saying anything? So why didn't not doing anything work? And if you want to pause the video to think about these questions a little more, you can do that as well. Okay, so it didn't work ignoring him because everyone else was not ignoring Vince, right? They were laughing at his jokes. Even when he was being mean to DJ, nobody said anything or said, hey, Vince, that's not okay. You shouldn't say that. So it didn't work because all of the kids still thought it was funny, okay? Now, how can you tell if someone's feelings are being hurt when you're teasing them? Because remember, we talked about there's a difference between joking and then there's a difference between teasing someone. And we'll talk even more about that in a second. But how can you tell if someone is being hurt? What do you think? Yeah, so you can tell if someone is being hurt by maybe how they respond. So if you say a joke that you think is funny and you don't think that it's being hurtful, they might not laugh at that joke, or you can look and see how they respond with their body language. So if they don't laugh at your joke and maybe they're looking down at the ground, or they kind of like hug their body and look really sad and upset, that could be a sign that maybe what you said was hurtful to them. So that's how you can tell if someone's being teased. And then if it's a joke and someone laughs and has a good time and continues to laugh and talk with you, then you know that that one wasn't hurtful, okay? So those are ways that we can figure that out. And there were some students in this story who were bystanders, okay? What do you think the word bystander means? Have you heard that one before? Yeah, so a bystander is someone who just sees something that's going on but doesn't do anything. Okay, so can you think of anyone who is a bystander in this story? Yeah, so both Vince and DJ's friends were bystanders, right? They didn't really do or say anything when DJ was getting teased. All right, now, what do you think an upstander is? If a bystander is someone who sees something going on and doesn't do anything, what do you think an upstander is? That's right. An upstander is someone who sees something and does something about it. So in this story, DJ was actually an upstander. So when Vince was teasing Brian about his hair, DJ actually stepped in and did something, and he messed up his hair and he made a goofy face to make everyone laugh. So that way Brian felt better. All right, so he saw something happening and he took action to make it better. Okay, so that's why we want to make sure that we're being upstanders when we see this type of thing going on. Sometimes maybe people don't realize that their words are being hurtful, but sometimes they're doing it on purpose. So if we see that, we should remember to be upstanders, all right? And not just to people we're friends with, people that we maybe aren't so close with too. If we see that happening to them, we can always stick up for them as well. So I have a little activity before we go, and I am going to read you some scenarios, and I want you to tell me if it is a joke or if it is being hurtful, okay? And some things that I want you to keep in mind when I'm reading these is anyone being embarrassed? When I read you these situations, is anyone being embarrassed in these? All right. Do you think that the person is a good friend, or do you think that this person is a stranger? Right? These are things I want you to keep in mind, because sometimes we can joke around with a friend, or maybe we have some inside jokes. But if we were to say those things to someone we weren't very close with, they might not understand the joke, and that might be really hurtful. So we need to make sure that, it's someone that we're friends with. Is anyone being embarrassed? Is the teasing about another person's skin color? Is it about their religion or their body? Those topics are off limits. We do not need to be making jokes about someone's skin color, about their religion, or about their body. That's never okay, even if you're friends with them. That's not all right. Okay, so those are some things to keep in mind. So I am going to go ahead and read you some of the examples, and I want you to tell me, is this being hurtful or is this just a joke? Okay, so this one says, your brain is like a math robot. It always knows how to do math right. What do you think? Was that hurtful or was that just a joke? That's right, that one was just a joke, right? Was anyone being hurt when they said that? Was that mean? Was that about religion, skin color, body, anything like that? No, so that one was okay. They were just making a joke. All right, what do we think about this one? You still don't know your multiplication facts? Guess you'll be stuck in this class forever. What do we think? Was that a joke or was that hurtful? Yeah, so that one was hurtful, right? Because remember we talked before, is someone getting embarrassed? Yes, someone in this situation is definitely getting embarrassed. Maybe math is not their best subject, but they're trying really hard, and someone's making fun of them for not knowing the questions. So we see the difference between saying someone's a math robot and saying that someone's going to be stuck in math forever. There's a big difference between that, right? Let's look at the next one. This one says, whoa, Bigfoot, you look like a basketball player. What do we think? That one's a tricky one. Do you think it is hurtful or do you think it is a joke? Yeah, so this one would be a joke, all right? And this could depend too. Remember, are we saying this to a friend? And if we are saying it to a friend, that would be okay. Maybe it would be hurtful if it was a stranger or someone we didn't talk to and didn't joke around with very much. Excuse me. But if we're saying this to a friend, then it's okay because we're not being hurtful, we're not embarrassing them. We're just saying, that they're really tall, and we're just pointing that out, but we're not being hurtful about it. Now, what about this one? Look at her feet. They are a big, nasty monster. What do we think about that one? Is that hurtful or is that just joking around? Yeah, so that one's pretty different from the other one I just read. This one is hurtful. There's a difference between someone saying you look like a basketball player and then someone saying you look like a big nasty monster. So that one is not okay. That is hurtful, and that's probably embarrassing and upsetting. Okay, we've got two more. This one says, you look like Santa Claus with that frosting on your face. So maybe someone was eating a cupcake and they got a little frosting on their face and someone just says that they look like Santa Claus. Do we think that is hurtful or just joking around? Yeah, so that one's just joking around. They're not being mean, they're not saying anything embarrassing or hurtful, and that one's okay. All right? The last one says, gross, sick. It looks like you have a disease with that frosting on your face. What do we think? Hurtful or joking? Yeah, so that one is hurtful. There is a big difference between saying someone looks like Santa Claus and then saying, gross, do you have a disease? That one is not okay, and that's hurtful, okay? So I hope you see the difference now between joking and saying something hurtful. And again, we can be sure that if we're, accidentally saying something that makes someone feel uncomfortable, we can look at how they respond and how they act with their body language. And then we can always make sure to apologize afterwards and say, hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I wasn't trying to do that. All right, so just knowing the difference between joking and saying something hurtful. So now, because you were all so great and you watched till the very end, I am going to show you your very cool craft that you are going to do. So this is called a kindness rainbow. All right, it's very neat. And what you're going to do is you're going to take different colors of construction paper and you're going to make the outline of a rainbow and have someone help you cut it out. And then you make the outline of each color smaller and smaller and smaller. That way you can layer them on top of each other. And then you can cut out the clouds and put them on there. And then you have the raindrops. So when you are making the raindrops, I want you to think of what kind of qualities do you need in a friendship? What does it take to be kind, to be a friend? So we have things like being helpful, smiling, love, all of those things. So you can put whatever you want on these, and then you will have your kindness rainbow. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the video today, and I hope you have fun making your craft, and I will see you next time. Bye.